Um, so really, I really started to feel out of place and really lonely. I really started out with depression and a lot of negative thinking. Um, I didn't. I think at that time I didn't really understand my worth or who I was. It was really confusing. I was about 15 at the time that things just seemed out of place. I felt out of place. Um, and I didn't understand the feelings, but I knew that it seemed kind of dark and lonely and even confusing. So I would say that would be the start of where it all began for me. I really didn't understand it myself. I thought, maybe I needed more friends or maybe I needed more social activity. I really wasn't sure what was going on, but what began to happen is I began to start really thinking on the death process because I was so alone. I felt so alone. And so what happened is my mom actually walked in with me holding a knife. At that time I was not planning to hurt myself, but I was like in the feels of it, like trying to understand, is this what I do? Is this it? Is this how you do this depression thing? Because I knew I was depressed. I knew I was lonely and I was even cranky at times or moody, right? And so I felt like I was just a bother. And so my mom actually walked in with me holding a knife, no action, but that thought was there. And that's where my mom said, okay, we need to do something. She didn't really share that. Our relationship was different. Not the typical mother daughter relationship. And so that I feel probably also played a part in some of my mental health.
Okay.
So she did go and get me some help. I actually, I don't know if it was the greatest way that she got me help. I don't think she understood. So what happened is she literally drove me to St. Cloud Hospital and left me there. And so here I thought I was having a fun day with my mom, going to hang out. There was no mention of what we were doing that day except for hanging out. And so then I was driven to St. Cloud Hospital, and that's where I stayed for a week. And so many more things came across my mind in that moment of, okay, even my mom doesn't want me. So it actually more fueled my depression and anxiety and how I felt about myself because my mom was not educated in what to do for me. So I was in a locked unit first. They put me in a locked unit where just to kind of observe you and see your behaviors, and it seemed okay. I just kind of went with whatever because I was just really confused. I just didn't know what was really going on. And then I got put into another area where there was a little more freedoms and we could walk around. And then that's where we actually started to have like groups and things like that. And that's actually where I learned that art is actually an outlet for myself. And so, because they had crafts there. And there was a great nurse there that let us bake cookies. I mean, I was young, I was a teen, and there was just a couple of us teens in there. And she had made it more comfortable for us and kind of just helped us like, hey, you don't have to be scared to be here. It's going to be okay. Because otherwise you're just going to these classes and being taught this information that you didn't really understand. I don't think, or I didn't at that age. And so having that comfort of someone showing compassion was really helpful. And so I would say that went pretty well for me. It did not necessarily stop my mental health issue. That carried through and grew really. I think maybe if we had more things at home change. I had a difficult upbringing. But my mom is a very emotionally closed off person, she was. And so, like, there wasn't that support I needed. There wasn't that compassion like I got from the nurse or the people, supporting what I was going through. So I didn't have a mom that asked questions or said, "How are you doing today? I love you. How can we?" My mom didn't do those things. She was just physically there and physically provided for us, which was wonderful. But emotionally, I didn't have the support I needed at home. And so then I began to actually go find the attention I needed, which led me down way more paths than I wanted to be down, which included drugs and alcohol, which only deepened my mental health issues. I was out of my parents' home at almost 16, so I was still 15. I left my parents' home, and people did bring me in, and they loved on me. And I'm going to talk about a lady that's very special to me. She's no longer alive, but her name is Sandra Carson, and she allowed me to live in her home. She helped me with my schoolwork. She really kind of became a mother to me when my mom was fairly absent. And so that love that she didn't have to show me didn't change me at that moment, but it planted something in me that said, people do care about you. People do care about you. And so that really has stuck with me for many, many years. I would say she's one of my heroes yet today. She really invested in my life, and I didn't appreciate it at the time, but I really do now. And from there, I didn't really go and get help from an institution again because of how that first interaction was. After I just had lived with it. And then eventually it started to get bad again where I started to self-mutilate, self-harm. And I knew that I needed to get some help somehow. And so I've been in and out of therapy really my whole young adult life, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. What is wrong with Amber? And so that's kind of how it has progressed. Now, to talk about how that changed and how I'm managing my mental health is different now than it was then. So now I do weekly. I still go to therapy, but I go weekly. Right now I'm not managing with medication, thankfully, but there are times where I do need that support. I do work with a doctor, and it works well. But I have been reevaluated over the years and have found that I have more mental health diagnosis than I did when I was 15, due to traumas, due to my drug use, due to non-support in my family. And so as I learned those, I could educate myself and learn about, why do I feel the ways I feel? Why is my negative thinking so strong some days that I can't look past it? Why is that? And so I had learned that I have borderline personality disorder. And so really what I've been explained to it as is I feel really hard and I take on a lot of emotion and I assume that others are thinking poorly of me. And borderline personality disorder is something that really has developed because of life experience. It's a mental health issue that is developed because of other things happening in your life. And so once I understood that it isn't something that I did or nothing's wrong with me. Once I realized that, I could grow and learn and educate and know what I need to have in place. And those things that I need to have in place is support. And then I have, I want to talk about my friend, Sarah. Her name's Sarah. And she really helps me now, even in I've done lots of therapies and really have gone to a great healing place. But there's still days that are really tough. And I can always call her. I've called her at 5 in the morning and I've called her at midnight and sometimes I just message her and say, today is just a really emotional day. And she'll say, do you want to talk about it? And sometimes I do, and sometimes I don't, but she's always willing to be there with me. No matter if I feel like I'm all mixed up in my brain and I don't know what to think next, or if I'm doing just fine. And she's just always just present and willing. And that's what I need. I need that support that says, okay, even when you're having a bad day, I'm right here. Mm. And so I can call on my friend Sarah and I can say whatever I need to say and she's not going to judge me. And that's what I need is non-judgment. Someone who will listen and someone who cares. Well, she has a couple times asked if she could give advice. And usually I'm pretty open to hear what she has to say. And so I listen to the advice at least, but she asks me. She doesn't just push that advice onto me. She doesn't say, this is what I think you need to do, or this is what you should do. She doesn't say any of that. She says, would you like my advice? And I'll say, yeah, sure. And she'll say, well, I think if it was me, I would do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she just leaves it at that. She doesn't push the subject. And she'll say, well, let me know what you decide. So really puts the decision back into my hands and says, what are you going to do? So that would, I think, is a perfect way to handle it.
Yes.
And
yes.
I really am accepting of that.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of different types of treatments or therapies, but so including talk, EMDR, DBT, things like that. But I would say one of my most effective would be a toss-up between DBT and EMDR. DBT gives you the skills that you need to live every day, to make it through those hard things every day. But EMDR helps you get past some of that past trauma that you've been kind of stuck in and that you're living through almost on a daily basis. And so it brings you back to that time and helps you heal from that time to this time. Mm-hmm. And I wish I knew the science behind it because it's amazing, but I know it has to do with creating those pathways in your brain. And it really just helped me relieve the load that I've been carrying for many, many years of trauma and thinking that I had to hang on to that, I don't have to hang on to that. So that would be my most, I would say the one I got the most out of. I guess the first thing I would suggest is a support group. Talking to their doctor, maybe setting up some sort of area or someone they can talk with and share these things with that may understand a little bit more of the situation. If you're a family member that doesn't know, you can direct them in those areas. Peer support's a big thing. Finding peer groups. There's peer groups online. There's peer groups in different cities. And joining some of those peer groups, those people are going to understand you the most. Mm-hmm. And I think being understood and knowing your worth is very important. If you're a person that wants to support someone with mental health, you can do the same. Get involved in these peer groups. Get involved in serving those that have mental health. You can even do it at the hospitals. Being that compassionate person that somebody needs. And it's going to look different for everybody. That's the real big key, is people handle their mental health differently, or they have different levels of mental health. And so knowing where to start might be hard at first, but there's no wrong door, as they say. You can go anywhere and they will direct you. What's next? What level of care do you need? And so You could start with a peer group and they're going to tell you, hey, maybe this would be better for you. So starting somewhere is really the key. Remember that you're not there to fix a person. You're not going to fix a person. The next thing I would say is listen. Don't have a response. Just sometimes listen and think that through. If you're thinking they need a response, they might not. They might just need an ear and someone they can trust. And before you become the ear, I think you just have to let them know that you're there. You're present with them, no matter what type of day they have. So I think that's really the start, is saying, hey, I'm here for you. Do you need anything? How are you doing? Like, really, how are you doing? Most people are saying, oh, I'm fine. That's the typical answer. But sometimes we really want the person to say, are you really okay? And then just listen. And that's a really good start. And then from there, you can ask questions as that trust builds, as they begin to share more with you about their life. Because trust can be a very big issue, because they've probably haven't been listened to very well at many times. And so to know you're consistently present is going to be an important part.